call to set up an emergency operations center in Dallas County with Jenkins in charge. The EOC was staffed by officials from Dallas County, the City of Dallas, the CDC, the county and state health departments, and the Dallas County Sheriff's Department, among others. This was the team that made decisions on matters such as isolating people who had been in direct contact with Duncan, including his fiancée, Louise Troe, her teenage son, and 2 other male relatives. Because they were not sick, they couldn't technically be quarantined. What?
Yeah, I actually want to jump in. That's perfect. So, all right. This was the team that made decisions on matters such as isolating people who had been in direct contact with Duncan, including the whole world, wherever he walked at that time. But we're going to limit it down to his fiancée, Louise Troe, her teenage son, and 2 other male relatives. Because they were not sick, they couldn't be technically quarantined. But instead, they issued a control order that kept them at the home where they would be monitored for signs of Ebola. The same home where it's more probable, if this is a contagious disease to the degree that, we're imagining, they're being confined to the home where it's more probable where they will contract it since it's present within the home, although they don't have it right now. So that's very interesting of itself. Texas officials were criticized for keeping the family inside the apartment where Duncan first showed signs of the disease, potentially exposing them to the virus. The family worried about Duncan's soiled sheets and other waste in the apartment. The response team located a private home where the family could move and got permits to clean the apartment and truck 140 55-gallon barrels of waste to an incinerator 400 miles away, but not before confining them to the same place.
Jesus.
Your thoughts?
Well,
I don't even mean to laugh, but this is like, wow.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's like, what else can you do?
Let's use the same needles that we used for the people that were infected to treat you for the infection. Wait, I don't have the infection. No, we're going to stick them in you anyway.
Right. And I mean, look, most people know that even if, regardless of whether or not you're showing symptoms of any kind, doesn't mean that you're not carrying the infection, whatever it may be, whether internally or externally. You see what I'm saying? So, I may not have the flu, but that doesn't mean that I'm not carrying the flu either, again, internally or externally. Internally meaning I didn't happen to become sick from it, but that doesn't mean I'm not carrying the virus in me, and if I sneeze on you, you're not going to get it.
So what you're saying is I should shoot you because I'm in fear for my life, preemptively.
Absolutely. But even still, let's say for the sake of argument...
I like this guy.
Let's say for the sake of argument that you're not carrying it internally. Well, that's fine because Ebola, as we know, as far as they're telling us right now, is not an airborne sickness. So, okay. What if I shook hands with Duncan, and before I shook hands with him, he sneezed into his hand, so I have his Ebola-ridden mucus all over my hands, and then I shake your hand. So, because I'm not showing any symptoms, because I don't necessarily have it in my body, doesn't mean that I don't have it on me. So, logic would dictate that I should be quarantined to some degree.
But how about placed in the infectious room where this person was living?
Right. I mean, the whole building should be burned down.
I mean, definitely tested at all stages. I can agree to that. But man, what? Like, I have a joke, and I call it the speed of government. And when people want things to happen, I say, it's going to happen, but at the speed of government. And what that means is it's not going to happen fast, because the government of themselves don't actually do anything. They allocate taxes to hire somebody that supposedly and hopefully knows what they're doing. And they're a third party that sends that money out to them. So it slows down the process of, rather than, like if you pay somebody direct to order a pizza and it gets to your house in 30 minutes or less. Or the government way is to send in a permit for a pizza the week prior, and then once they approve it, then they send out an allocation for that pizza to the pizza place, and you might get approved, you might get disapproved. Then 3 weeks later, if they approve it, then you have to wait for the process of the money to get sent out to the pizza place. and the pizza place finally sends out the pizza, but that's after about 6 weeks. So this is what the speed of government is. Government has its role, but it's not in making things happen fast. I'm positive there are people out there, and actually entrepreneurs, that would be willing to crack this virus, crack this code and everything, and make it happen fast. And then they will be inhibited by the speed of government, which is fine, because you do actually have to test things to make sure it works, but the process is all screwed up. I'm going to admit it. Do you feel where I'm going, or am I babbling?
I concur.
Okay.
I concur, sir. Obviously.
Yeah, so if someone's not sick, don't confine them to a room of the person that is sick in hopes that nobody else gets sick.
And then certainly don't not quarantine them.
Yeah, put them in a different room, please. Whoever made these decisions, no bravo to you.
Yeah, I mean it's like the announcement that they made at that the CDC announced that they don't think that we should shut down flights in and out of Africa.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right?
Because it would make the problem worse. What?
Exactly, thank you. Wouldn't we quarantine every flight that came out of Africa by that same logic? Because potentially there's Ebola coming from Africa.
Right. Now, and just to play devil's advocate here,
don't take my place.
In an effort to absolutely no effing sense. But basically, what they were saying that you don't want to stop the flights in and out of Africa, because if you basically quarantine them to that area, that it's only going to cause the disease to spread further, and eventually.
Confused.
Right. Now that's the explanation. That was the explanation that they gave. So half of the argument I can understand. Half of the argument I can agree with, in the sense that yes, if you keep Ebola-infected people limited to their immediate area, that yes, the potential for it to spread in that area does increase. Absolutely. But I mean, and I may be a dummy, but I fail to see the correlation between its spread from that point, because they're limited travel, to then translate to it moving over
to a much larger country with
to a completely different continent on the other side of the freaking ocean. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will definitely
Where's
increase.
the crickets sound effect?
I definitely need to have that ready for moments such as this. Because it makes no sense. I mean, and again, and that's how they do things.
But our politicians ensured us that Ebola would not reach the United States.
Yeah, would never, and even if it did, that it wouldn't spread. And now we're and even though yes, it's only about 4 people so far that it's spread to in total, but the operative word being so far, because before it was that it's not going to get here, and then it was even if it does get here, it's not going to spread. Well, now it's spread. Now it's gotten here, and now it's spread.
I'm still dying from the swine flu, just so you know. I died from it twice.
You didn't drink enough of your fluoride.
Exhale. No, the swine flu actually became confused as I drank more fluoride-contaminated water, and the swine flu didn't know what part of my body to infect, and it left me.
Right. And look, and the point, people, here is, I'm not trying to.
The moral of the story is what?
We're not trying to scare people here. I hate fear mongering with a passion, but it's not fear mongering just to have a discussion and let people know what's going on, what our opinions are about it. Bottom line is, this is happening whether we talk about it or not. This is happening. This is what's going on. So we should at least know why it's happening and what the potential ulterior motives behind it happening are. On that note, before we run out of time here, I wanted to touch on another article here. Once again, coming to you from Drudge Report. Did members of terrorist group cross the Mexican border? Answer remains unclear. This is coming to you once again through Drudge Report via McClatchy. And that's www.mcclatchy.com, where you can find the article, or you can find it again at Drudge Report. Washington, a series of statements this week from the Obama administration. Officials have left a murky picture about whether 4 people caught last month crossing the United States border from Mexico has ties to terrorist groups. U.S. Representative Jason Chaffetz?
We'll say Chaffetz.
All right. The Republican Utah raised the issue last month. He said he had heard that individuals with terrorist ties to the Middle East had been caught crossing the border. Other Republican members of Congress have made similar claims since. Responding to news reports about those remarks, Marsha Catron, the Department of Homeland Security press secretary, said Wednesday in a prepared statement that the suggestion that individuals with ties to the Islamic State, also known as ISIL,
no longer ISIS,
crossed the border as
categorically
false. Of course they did. DHS continues to
that
have
is
no
Department
credible
of Homeland Security, by the way. DHS. Sorry.
These guys continues to have no credible intelligence to suggest terrorist organizations are actively plotting to cross southwest borders. This statement said, "Look, here's the thing, man. Even if that's the case, let's imagine, because that's really all we can do, is let's imagine that there is no credible evidence that's gonna. That obviously is what they would do, because they're creating the environment to allow something like that to happen. It's the perfect storm. Of course, if you eliminate the borders, the first things that people who want to destroy this country are going to say is, hey, let's sneak on through those borders that are completely unprotected."
You mean the ones that are unprotected?
Right.
Oh, you just said that. Whoops.
Let's go ahead and slide on in. They don't care. They're not blocking
Let's
anybody.
not go where the Coast Guard will stop us. Let's go in through the ones that nobody cares.
Right.
Because they're not going to protect it anyway.
Look, I mean, here's my thing: is I don't believe for a second that there's no credible evidence. I'm sure they've got stacks upon stacks, just like they had stacks upon stacks upon stacks, that there was going to be an imminent attack on the World Trade Towers.
Right, but we have to ignore all that and just accept official story.
Right, I'll follow the official story, and that's food fed to you through the mainstream media. Joke, man. Assume that everything that they tell you is a lie. When you read a statement like that, the DHS continues to have no credible evidence to suggest terrorist organizations are. There's oxymoron for you. But whenever you read a statement that says DHS, something like, just as an example, DHS continues to have no credible intelligence to suggest terrorist organizations are actively plotting to cross the southwest border, assume it. Basically, anything that these people tell you, assume the opposite, and it'd be good to go. Assume that it's a lie. Why? Because it's your responsibility as an American citizen to question known lies. They're liars. They've always lied. They continue to lie. They always will lie. That's their job, is to lie to you. So everything they tell you, assume it's a lie. Assume whatever they tell you. When you read a statement like that, assume that it says instead DHS continues to have no credible intelligence. Assume that sentence really means DHS has tons of evidence that suggests that terrorist organizations are actively plotting to cross the southwest border.
Here's a question for you. A person
no question
that goes to church, according to Nancy Pelosi, 3 times a week can be considered a domestic terrorist. However, a gentleman on a Texas base that murders over 20 people, was it over 20? Or let's just pretend it was 10, okay, just for argument's sake.
Sure.
Murders over 10 people in the name of an Islamic fundamentalist belief that he has, is not classified as terrorism.
Right.
Where are we?
We are in a nation of hypocrisy and liars. Always question the liars. It's to be a conspiracy theorist is to question known liars.
Everything.
That's all it is. Question everything.
Once you have a line drawn there, you're all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wear conspiracy theorist as a badge of honor. All that means is questioning known liars. These people are lying to you. They don't care about you. It's all a big joke.
Yeah, going wherever you're told makes you a sheep, and that's a fact. That's why they need a shepherd. You really do need to question where your shepherd is leading you, just to be a smart sheep. It's not a bad thing. If your shepherd's a good shepherd, he won't be mad at you and beat you with the shepherd staff for asking.
Right. Amen. All right. On that note, you're all done.